Well, hey everybody. I think I'm live here. So it's a little bit before noon, but I wanted to make sure I got on. Um, Everybody who ever goes live and this kind of stuff always complaining about technical difficulties. I'm one of them. Every video I make or everything we do, there's always a gripe or two about that. But hopefully you can join me. I'll wait for a minute or two, see if anybody pops in. But I hope you're having a good day. I don't know where you're at, but here in the Indianapolis area. It's a gorgeous day. We've been on a good streak of nice weather. It's actually kind of California weather, maybe high 70s, low 80s, no humidity. I shouldn't say California weather because California's on fire. Sorry if you're in California. But I don't know. I'm doing this from a computer, and I know a lot of people do these live videos from their phone, and so they're able to see comments in real time. There may be a comment or two, and I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out. And if you want to drop a comment as I talk today, feel free. But but yeah, I've just had a lot going on and been overwhelmed with a lot of information and just where we're at in life, just a lot of things happening, and want to kind of speak from an abundance of that. So again, hopefully, life is good for you. I know things are starting to get back to normal a little bit, and so forth. Well, I'll get started. As you know, well, first of all, I'm glad I could actually make a video without having to worry about somebody running in, or if you watch some of the devotions I made, which I will start doing those again sometime. But if you watch some of them, I would, right in the middle of a statement, you'd see me look down and hit a button. That's because Landon ran in as I was trying to make a video. But fortunately, school has started, and Landon is in school. Praise the Lord for that, and praise the Lord for kindergarten teachers. I don't know how they do that. Our teacher has 28 kids in the class. I have no idea how she does that, but what a wonderful lady! What a wonderful gift she gives to parents. And so, and he's learning so much every day. He comes home and shares with me a little bit of what he's learning after he barks at me about he's hungry for lunch. So after that, but anyway, so we've got him in school now, and it's given me a little bit of time to kind of free up my mind, kind of figure out what we're going to do moving forward and so forth. And we'll talk a little bit about that today in this video. But tomorrow will be 9 months since we buried my precious wife Karen, and so it's been 9 months. Hard to believe that, and I know a year will be here before that. But a lot has gone on, including now becoming a single father and with a 5-year-old, so that was something that was never on my radar, and so now it's coping with that. So through this process, I've had to learn a lot about grief. I've gone to a grief group or two and read a lot of books and just trying to help myself. And then it doesn't help that we were in a crazy year with this COVID 19, just horrible. And again, I'm going to try to stick to my notes and do this video, but if you're on and you want to pop in and say hello. Matt Rogers checked in. I appreciate that, Matt. He goes way back to high school years back at City Baptist. But anyway, so in 9 months, we've gone from burying my wife to going through the grief and having all the starts and stops. We with this COVID, it would be for 2 weeks we were open, then shut down, and it's all kind of crazy starts and stops in the grief process. So that kind of didn't help. And then had an incident with my brother. My brother got sick and had to deal with that. And then just 2 weeks ago, my wife's sister, Kim, who was diagnosed with lung cancer 8 weeks after Karen passed away 2 weeks ago. And so they were on that cancer journey together. So it's been a lot of unusual things happen. But here in the last few weeks, the Lord has kind of given me just a little bit of a clear path to kind of sort through some things. That's kind of what I want to talk about today. My wife, I just didn't have the emotional strength to deal with possessions, like her possessions, what to do with them. And so I've just kind of left them there. And today was the first day that I could tackle some of that. And I felt good about myself. I really, really felt good that I was able to move forward here and tackle that. And learned a lot of things about my wife even today, just going through stuff that I wanted to share about my wife, and then actually get into some of the grieving things. But my wife left me some great gifts as I was going through her things and her possessions today, and cleaning some out, and just dealing with them. But one of the things that she did, and this is one thing I would encourage you to do, is she journaled. She left a journal for us, and I'm more excited. Yes, I got to see some insight into my wife that I didn't know. And you think you know a lot about your partner, and then you open up a journal like that, and you find out there's different facets to them that you didn't know. And I'm glad that she left it, but I'm also glad that it's something that I can pass down to my son. Really excited that Landon didn't really get to know his mom, and I'm glad they'll be able to. There'll be something that I can pass down to him, and I encourage you to do that too. Sometimes people journal thinking, who wants to know anything about me, or who will want to know? Trust me, one day there'll be kids or somebody that'll want to know about you. So that was a great gift that Karen left me. And then she kept all of the cards and notes that I ever sent her. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this broadcast today, or video today, was because this is the first time in a long time that I'm actually in a healthy spot where I can read a note like that or look at a picture without crying. And that's a big step for me. I know that many of you are like, I don't even care about this, but maybe you know somebody who's grieving, or you're grieving, and grieving doesn't just is not necessarily limited to, it's not limited strictly to death. Anytime we have any kind of a loss, the loss of a job could trigger grief, loss of a relationship, a divorce, a separation, a breakup, a loss of a major event. We had people who didn't get to graduate because of the COVID and different things, and so any kind of loss brings grief. And so maybe you're struggling with that, or know somebody who is. But anyway, she kept all the cards and notes that I sent her, and I was reading through those today, and was grateful. That was a great gift that she left me. And then she left a lot of pictures, just a lot of good memories, things that we did together, places that we went together. So I was grateful that she did that. But I want to talk about grieving for just a few minutes, and just some lessons that I've learned. I was fortunate. Our pastor, Pastor John, at our church, asked me to teach a 1-hour class on grieving and grief recovery, and I was able to go through a whole 1-hour lesson, and maybe I'll do a video about that one day. But this is not going to be a 1-hour video, I promise you. But I'm just going to some brief things that I learned about the grief process, and things that I went through with that. But one of the things I learned is no two people grieve the same. No two people grieve the same. You're feeling things at a 9 sometimes when you're grieving. Some people are very, very passionate, very emotional, and they're feeling things at about a 9 or a 10, and it's very obvious. And then they're looking at other people, and they're asking themselves, why isn't he feeling it that way? Why isn't she feeling it that way? Why doesn't he look as disturbed about it as I do? And we judge other people's grieving by our grieving. And one of the things that I learned on this journey, and I'm glad I did, is that no two people grieve the same way, and the grief is just as real. I'm a little bit more of an emotional person, a passionate person. And so, my grieving is very obvious. I can't hide it. When you look at my face, it's very obvious. Hey, something's bothering that guy. And, that's just my makeup. But sometimes what I'm very guilty of is I can look at other people and say, why aren't they grieving? Why aren't they feeling this like I am? But no two people do that. And so one of the things, maybe if you're going through a loss, or you have gone through a loss, you're gauging your grief by somebody else. You're looking at somebody else. And I've done that. Facebook is filled with people about my age, or maybe a little bit younger, a little bit older, who have lost a spouse. And it's very easy to go on Facebook and kind of look at my grief, my situation, and compare myself to them. It's very easy. And what the Lord has really shown me and really worked with me this year is understanding that no two people grieve the same. And so you got to cut people some slack. Maybe even in your life, there's some tension from relatives who you feel didn't grieve the same way you did, or didn't feel it. Friends that didn't feel it the way you did or so forth. It's a good reminder to realize that no two people grieve the same. And I think you can really solve a lot of tension and problems in your life by that. Another thing I learned about grieving was not just that no two people grieve the same, but I don't know where I learned it. I don't know if it was in a lesson or in a book or just came naturally, but one of the things that I really learned is don't rush the process. Don't rush the process. Whatever it is, a breakup, a divorce, a death. When you're grieving, best thing to do is just to go through it. And don't rush it. A lot of us don't like pain. And obviously when there's grief, there's pain, and so we feel these things. So it's important that we don't rush it. Just get past it. And I'm glad that there was people around me that encouraged that. I remember when my wife first passed away, the question of what we were going to do with her belongings came up, and I kind of felt that pressure, that inward. Nobody was putting pressure on me, but I kind of felt that inward pressure. Hey, you got to get moving, got to do this, got to do that. But then something took over and said, hey, there's no rush on this. And I'm glad that I had family support, other family members that said, hey, take your time. You'll know when it's time. And when you're ready, you'll be able to do that, And so I just want to encourage you, whenever you go through a loss, there's no rush to get through that. Take your time. You'll know when it's the right time to move on to the next step or the next process. And again, it took me 9 months to go through my wife's possessions. I was finally able to do that today. That's a big step for me. And that's probably why I want to share it with you. And I want to hand clap, and I want some likes, and I want some comments and the thing, which you probably won't get, but that's fine. But we're now able to, I'm out, like I mentioned, that's a big step for me, just being able to look at pictures and not cry, But on the flip side, sometimes I hear a song, a love song or some type of song, and I'll think about Karen, I'll start crying, but it's only natural, So I learned that there's no rush. And then one of the last things I want to share with you this morning about grief and what I learned in grief is I learned that to fight through it, man, it's real. It is absolutely real, the despair that you sink to, and the feelings, the emotions, the chemicals that run through your body, the scare, the being scared, the fear, the anxiety, all these things, and so they do overwhelm you. And that's why it's so important to have good support around you. I think of my brother-in-law, Iglesia Bautista Fundamental. Thank you for reaching out there and checking in, saying hello. But my brother-in-law recently lost his wife, Kim, my wife's sister, and by the way, if you know the Tutton family, please pray for them, and the Whitehead family, keep praying for them. Can you imagine losing 2 daughters within a span of 9 months? It's absolutely insane. Don't even know why, but hello, Brother Miguel and Abigail. God bless you guys, and they're in that Hurricane Alley down there, and praying for them as well. But thank you for checking in. But yeah, I mentioned, pray for the Tuttons. They're solid people, and they're just hanging in there and so forth. But pray with them. And then obviously my brother-in-law Josh. But one of the things I was impressed with when I went down there is my brother-in-law Josh has just an amazing support system with family. Had all the family around him, and then obviously had my wife's side of the family there to support. So, if you know somebody who's grieving any kind of loss, like again, we limit loss to death, but there's more to loss than just death. There's we're talking about obviously death, but we're talking about separation, any kind of loss. We're talking about even when somebody loses certain capabilities, if a person has a stroke and loses the ability to walk or to talk, or if a person gets paralyzed, a person loses a job, maybe they've been in a job for 20, 30 years, could very easily go into grief. But it's very, very important that we get a good support system around us and be that support system. But then also the one I want to challenge you, if you're going through a loss right now, you got to fight through it. You just have to fight. Now, it's going to get the best of you some days. Some days I wish I could stand here and look into this camera and say, man, I handle everything properly. Are you kidding me? No, we don't ever get anything perfect, but we try, But there was some days, man, my body felt, my body felt like I was just a lead weight. That could be because I'm overweight and I need to lose some weight, but it just felt like a lead weight. I could not get up. And, just the only thing that got me up was literally caring for my son. But but you just got to fight through it. You got to keep fighting. You got to keep fighting. You got to keep fighting. Obviously, with the Lord's help and being in Scripture and reading. But you got you got to fight through it. And the main thing you got to fight when you're going through any kind of a loss is the main thing you got to fight is isolation. That was a little bit difficult for us because we're new to this area. We've only been here for about 2 years, and I'm still working at developing some friendships and relationships, and they're not as deep as I would like for them to be. But you got to fight isolation. That's why this quarantine was absolutely horrible, 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 horrible. And if any, we lost a lot of people to the COVID-19 and all that, but I promise you, certainly we've had some people, some casualties because of the isolation, and so it's actually horrible. But you got to fight through that isolation. As much as you don't want to be in church, you got to go to church. As much as you don't want to be in that Sunday school class or that small group, you got to fight through it. You got to go. You got to go to it. And that goes the same thing with depression. Some of us are struggling with depression. Many are still unemployed because of this COVID thing. You got to fight through that isolation. Can't be isolated. Another thing we got to fight through is the depression. Man, the depression is real. I'm a little bit of a melancholy spirit to begin with, and so I struggle with a little bit of melancholy, but not like the depression that I faced in the last 9 months. Some serious thing, but you just got to fight through it. I ordered every possible book I could. I listened to every podcast I could. I cashed in every phone call that I could, calling people to kind of reach out and talk to them. And so whatever you got to do, you got to fight through that depression. You got to fight through the loneliness, and then one of the things you got to fight through is for a new beginning, a new goal, and that's been hard because, again, social media has its blessings and its curse, but you look on there and you see other people that have kind of moved on, moved forward, I should say. That's probably a better term. And then you think to yourself, what's happening in my life? And God has a way of showing us the new path or the new beginning. But there's a card that somebody sent me, and I love it, and I keep it on the refrigerator, and just some encouragement. It's 5 things God wants you to remember in trying times, and it's got some 5 things, but I just want to. Number 4 is the one that just captivates me. It's on my refrigerator, and I remind myself, He's the God of new beginnings. And whenever you go through a loss, at some point you have to stop and say, okay, that's done. God has a new beginning for me, and God's showing me some new things that He wants us to do, and I'm now getting excited about some of those new things. It doesn't take away one bit of the love that I have for my wife and our time together. But anyway, so fight through that. Some new goals, some lessons I learned on relationship. On relationship in the last 9 months, and especially really in the last day or two that I've been going through my wife's possessions and cleaning that out and doing that. Some things that I learned on relationship that maybe will help you. I learned that in relationships, there's a dynamic that works. Most of us, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but most of us marry because we wanted to. Now, I know some of you, maybe it was arranged or forced. I don't know, but most of us marry because we want to. We love this person. We fell in love with that person, but there was something that attracted us and worked in that relationship that brought us together. And I think what happens so many times is we start looking at other couples, and we say, why can't we be more like them? Well, the obvious thing is you're not them. You are you, and you have certain things. I was thinking about me and Karen, and especially as I was going through her things, of how feisty my wife was. She had a lot of nervous energy. My wife was always on the go and just always moving, could not sit still. Well, I'm the flip side. I'm productive, and I like to go out and do things, but I also like me some good couch time, But I needed that. I needed that kind of nervous energy person that, whenever I was sitting on the couch, I kind of felt guilty as she was running around doing these things, and it was a dynamic that worked, and so I just want to encourage you on maybe you're looking at your relationship and you're thinking, why can't we be more like, Pastor so-and-so, or why can't we be more like Miss so-and-so? Well, because, you're two different people, and God brought you together, and there's a dynamic that works there. and I encourage you to embrace it and accept it. I'm so glad I did. I'm glad that I didn't really, can't say I never tried to change my wife, because there's things about our partner that we are always trying to change, but I'm glad that I kind of accepted that about Karen, and came to a place that I realized I needed that, I needed that kind of push, and I needed that, that aspect of Karen. And so factor that in. Another thing I learned about, our relationship in the last month, and talking to myself, I want to share with you, is to stay spiritual, I know that's just kind of like a no-brainer, right? But as I was looking through Karen's journal, it was just amazing how many Bible anecdotes that she had, and it was amazing how spiritual she was. And I always knew that, but there's a private side to us where we are only comfortable maybe showing that just to God, and I'm so glad that she was that way. But, the guilty side of me says, hey, did I encourage that? Did I fuel that in our relationship? Or did I kind of diminish that and take that away from her? And how about that in myself? Was I that passionate, in my walk with the Lord and so forth? And I want to just encourage you to, in your relationship, you got to work hard to stay spiritual. You really do. And the fact of the matter is, that's really, we'll talk about that here in a minute. But, that's really the thing that draws us to each other, in a real close way, is that love for Jesus, when he is the head of the home and of our lives. You have two people that are focused on him, drawing closer. You just naturally grow closer to each other. And as you drift from Jesus, you drift from each other, really, and then you become two separate people, and living on two different islands, and then you get carnal and you start fighting with one another and so forth. So it was just a reminder to me that, a convicting reminder that don't ever allow yourself to get so busy that you lose your spirituality in a relationship. And then, on relationship, one of the last things I learned was that, in reading through that journal and thinking about our relationship, is difficult seasons come to even the most loving relationships. As I was going through that journal, I kind of laughed, because there was some rocky roads that I didn't even know about. There was some months in our marriage I thought everything was fine, but going through that journal, I realized, hey, things weren't as good as I thought they were. But praise the Lord for a godly wife that just kind of just realized, hey, relationships are going to have their ebbs and flows, their ups and downs, but we're committed. We're going to love each other, and again, I'm going to bash social media, but we look at social media and we're like, oh man, their marriage is so perfect. Oh, they got the perfect kids. They got, everything's so perfect about them. But as well, it's just not true. It's just not true. And I was reminded of that today, going through that journal and, thinking about Karen, and realizing that we loved each other deeply and devotedly and committedly, and just had so much fun, and laughed so much. But even the best of relationships go through difficult seasons, and maybe you're in one right now. Maybe you're in a difficult season right now, and some of you are saying, brother, I've been in a difficult one for like a decade now. Hey, hang in there. There's always 2030 or whatever, but hang in there. And then I just want to stay on just a few more minutes if you're hanging with me. Just want to talk to the guys. If there's any guys listening at noon, if you're having lunch with me, maybe eating a bite of your sandwich there. I just want to talk to the guys for a minute, because I came under a lot of conviction today, thinking about my wife, thinking about what I was doing there, but some things that I don't have. I would, what human doesn't have regrets about the past? Because we don't live perfectly, right? If the only way not to have regrets is to do something perfectly, right? But I did our marriage as good as I could have with the Lord's help. But even then, you look back, you're like, what would I have done more of? What, and I'm speaking to you that still have your wife. I lost my wife, and I'm speaking to you that still have yours. What would I have done maybe a little bit differently? Today I was just thinking through, as I was reading through those cards and notes, I would have written my wife a little bit more. I read through some of those cards and letters, And as I was reading through the cards and letters, I was actually falling in love with myself again, realizing no how good I am with words. No, I was just thinking to myself, wow, I mean those are really good letters you wrote. Those are really, really good cards, and I'll talk a little bit more about kind of when they stopped as being as frequent and as deep, But and I know text. Some of you are great with text. I mean, the minute you walk out the door, you're in the car. You haven't even left yet, and you're texting your wife, "I love you," and those are awesome, man. You men that do that and stay in contact with your wife. It's a running conversation all day long with your wife, and that's so beautiful. And that's really the way our relationship with God ought to be. It just needs to be a running conversation all day, right? But also, I think you have to take some time to sit down and pen some beautiful words to your wife and let her know exactly how you feel and exactly what you're thinking. But the key to that is obviously time, which you got to make time for it. But the key is meditation and thinking. We think our way into deep love. We really do. There's just a handful of things that if I just don't take 5 or 10 minutes for and just start thinking, that I'm not moved to tears. All I need is about 5 or 10 minutes thinking about a person, thinking about how much I love them, and I'm moved to tears. And I think if you spent maybe just a few minutes today, on your lunch break here, thinking about your wife, just thinking about her, meditating on her, and just write her a quick little note. But I would have written her more. I put down. I would be more aware of the effect of children on a marriage. I don't think we're aware of that totally. I think to some degree we are, but I really don't. Children are a blessing. The Bible tells us that children are a heritage of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is blessed. I mean, there's all sorts of verses that tell us how blessed we are with children. But also children, with that blessing also comes a balancing, not a curse is too strong of a word, but a balancing tension. With every blessing, there comes a tension. But I didn't. I think sometimes I was not as aware as I should have been, and that we only had one of them. Some of you out there have 4, 5, 6, and more. But I think I would have and should have been a little bit more aware. As I was reading through my wife's journal, I noticed from the time we got married till about 2015. Man, we went here, we went there, we did this, we spent a night here, we did it, and then it seemed like it all stopped in 2015. Well, that was the year our son was born. And almost to the date, things started to slow down. I just want to encourage you for the guys out there, just to really have your pulse on that. How much life can become about the kids and so forth. And then along those same lines, I would be more intentional about time alone. I would have been more intentional if knowing what I know now, and knowing that our time was short, because you don't know how much time you have with your spouse. I would have been a little bit more intentional about time alone. I loved our family. I loved when it was us three, the Three Musketeers, me, my wife, and Landon. I love that because guys, I don't know what it is about guys, but we love teams. We love when the team is together. But the fact of the matter is, you're only going to bond and you're only going to reconnect by yourselves. And so to the guys out there, I'm sure your wife will kind of amen this, but you got to spend some time alone, and intentionally, on a periodic basis. But I would have done that. And then lastly, I just put down here, I would have been more aware. I would have been more active leading spiritually. And not that I wasn't, not that I led us into worldliness or any of that, but I would have been a little bit more active and intentional about leading. Sometimes we allow our wives to kind of fend for themselves in the area of spirituality, and they hunger and they thirst and they desire spirituality, but in some cases they don't know how to get there. And that's our job, to figure out what spirituality looks like for the family. And that's our job to kind of figure out and I'm kind of rebuking myself, and lessons that I learned and I'll make a note of, and I will share it with other younger men that I mentor. But just some thoughts. Yeah. Just some thoughts today on grieving, some things that I learned, and some things that I learned about relationships, and then some things I learned for the guys. So I hope this helped you. I didn't want to take too much time, maybe 20, 30 minutes today, but I appreciate you checking in. I appreciate all the people that stopped in and said hello. Addie, it was a tremendous encouragement on our journey, but But I'll try to do a video from time to time, a live video. This is a little bit easier for me than just editing and producing them. But I'll try to keep doing the devotions as well. Hey, thank you for so many of you have been an encouragement to us. And if there's anything I can help you with, or any questions you have about going through the grief process, recovery process, or just need to talk, you could reach out to me here at Facebook. All right, enjoy your day. Have a wonderful day, and enjoy the rest of your lunch, whatever you're eating today. I'm hungry. I think I'm going to go get some lunch here too. All right, I'll talk to you later. Have a wonderful day. God bless you.